some analysis now from Rami Khouri, who's a distinguished public policy fellow at the American University of Beirut. Rami, thank you so much for being with us on the program. We recently heard from Trump. He's saying that they're looking very strongly at the Straits. He said the Straits are in good shape. He also says that they know where most Iranian sleeper cells are. He hinted at change of leadership in Iran. This is happening as we're hearing of 6 people being killed in a strike on Beirut's Ramlat al-Baida seafront, which is a serious escalation in the attacks across the GCC. And of course, oil fields are also being targeted in various countries there across the Gulf region. Give me your analysis of what we've recently seen unfold.
What we've seen unfold, especially in the last 3 days, is first the total dislocation of the American leadership from the realities in the Middle East, and particularly in Iran. The total inability to understand what is the actual situation in the region. And we've seen the Iranians, with some of their allies, Hezbollah, maybe Ansarullah coming up on people in Iraq, we've seen them change the nature of the conflict. They're widening the scope of the military attacks. They're increasing the pain that is suffered by countries that host American military bases or help the U.S. in the war. They're attacking a wider range of targets, both military and civilian, oil targets and other things like that, in retaliation for the U.S. and Israel doing the same thing in Israel. And they're creating greater costs for those who continue this war against Iran. The cost is getting higher, particularly in economic terms, which ultimately, if prices go wild and people in the U.S. and Europe and other places cannot possibly continue to survive with the higher prices, that this will translate into political costs for the leadership. So this is the most important thing that's happened: a strategic reconfiguration of the nature of the battle. The geographic and political scope is much wider, and the most important element right now is the choke point of the Straits of Hormuz. And possibly the Ansarullah in Yemen will carry out similar activities for Bab al-Mandab, which is at the end of the Red Sea, in which case the global shipping would not come to a halt, but it would be incredibly expensive for people that have to go transporting from Asia to Europe.
How would that change the dynamics of the war if Yemen does get involved, the Houthis?
It would create more pressure on the shipping, basically. And the Yemenis might fire some rockets as well at Israel, which they've done before. So you've got already Hezbollah and Iran firing at Israel. They're firing with more sophisticated missiles that are able to evade the defense systems. The Iranians have knocked out some of the key American systems, radar systems, to detect incoming projectiles. And therefore, they're not able to destroy as many as they used to be able to destroy before the missiles and the drones landed. And if the Hezbollah, if Ansarullah in Yemen join the fray, you'll have 3 people attacking Israel at the same time, while the weapons of the U.S. and Israel have been degraded. More missiles are hitting targets in Israel, and they're also the missiles are such that they're cluster munitions, where the missile explodes about 5-6 kilometers up in the air, and then the explosives, smaller explosives, land in a very wide area, maybe 5-6 kilometers wide. So there's a huge suffering, a huge cost being paid. It's not necessarily translated into large numbers of people killed. The aim is not to kill a lot of people. The aim is to put huge stress on the economies and the political systems.
Oh, I want to delve deeper into the Lebanon front in a bit, but first I want to ask you how the U.S. is currently assessing the situation, especially as if you say the Houthis get involved, it would definitely put more economic strain on what we're seeing happen right now. Trump today said, and I quote, "We're not leaving until the job is finished, and it's going to be very fast." What does that mean? What does finished mean for Donald Trump? Does that include a change in leadership in Iran, or does that mean just decreasing their nuclear and military capabilities?
We don't know. He doesn't know, but we can say that finished means finished will be defined by whether his political incumbency is threatened or not. If things go bad, and the war drags out and more American targets are hit, and then people start turning against the U.S., saying, what kind of strategic partner, security partner is the U.S.? It can't even protect its own bases. If things go really bad, he will suffer politically. We've seen that in the polls in the U.S. We've seen it in some by-elections. The November elections for Congress are going to be a huge indicator of where he stands. He may turn out to be, after November, a president with no power whatsoever because he can't get anything passed through Congress. That will, all those political calculations will determine when is the time to finish this war. He and the Israelis have started to have different views about what is to be achieved. They already have different views about the broad aims of the campaign, but they have different views about when it should be stopped. The Americans are more likely to stop and pull out earlier than the Israelis, and the Israelis anyway are busy with Hezbollah now as well as with Iran. So this is a really, really unprecedented situation, where local indigenous powers, Iran, Hezbollah, maybe others, are trying, we don't know if they'll succeed, but they're trying to change the strategic balance of power across the region and to end the American-Israeli hegemonic dominance of the political and economic assets of the Middle East.
Well, looking at the Lebanon front, again, we're hearing from Israeli politicians regurgitate their aspirations to occupy land in the south of Lebanon, saying that they need a military buffer zone, they need a safe space for themselves. But of course, experts believe that this is just them trying to occupy more land in the region. If that is the case, what does that tell us about the future of this conflict, specifically between Hezbollah and Israel?
It tells us that the Israelis have massive military power, much stronger than their Arab neighbors, including Hezbollah, but they have never been able to figure out how do you use your military power to achieve a political condition that satisfies Israel, satisfies the Lebanese, and satisfies international law. They've never done that. The reason is they're not interested in a resolution that satisfies the global law and the Lebanese. They want to satisfy only their insistence that they be more powerful than any combination of powers around them, or states, or non-state actors like Hezbollah, and that they can order them around. This battle now is the first example, I think, ever in modern history where non-state powers and state powers, Iran and Hezbollah and Ansarullah and others, are threatening to check Israel's military advantage. At least its conventional military advantage. Israel has nuclear weapons, and I'm pretty sure they have developed some small battlefield tactical nuclear weapons that are not as big as the bombs in Hiroshima. But if they ever felt that they were under real threat, I have no doubt they would use them, even just in a demonstrative way. They drop a bomb somewhere in a rural desert area just to show what they're ready to do. What they did in Gaza is like a small nuclear bomb. Right. There's probably 500,000 people will have died in Gaza because of their tactics of the genocide. So there's not much difference now between the impact of a small nuclear weapon and the genocidal tactics that Israel used, which were directly and consistently and often enthusiastically supported by the United States and Western European powers. And this is why the Iranians, with some support by groups in the region and a lot of support among public opinion, this is why the Iranians are trying to reconfigure the strategic balance of power in this region. The Iranians are not threatening to attack people or occupy them. The American charges that they're ready to attack the U.S. with missiles is nonsense. Nobody sees anything there. But Lebanon is showing us that the Israelis don't know how to coexist with the people around them, Arabs, Iranians, Turks, whoever it may be. They've occupied Lebanon before. They've had their troops there for years. They had local proxies that the South Lebanon Army and the groups of collaborators who worked with them, they've had buffer zones. They've had free fire zones. They've done everything you could possibly do in the South, and none of them work.
And despite all of those efforts, it's the humanitarian impact that we see suffers the most, the civilians stuck in the crossfire. Rami Khouri, I'm going to have to end it there, but thank you so much for being with us here on TRT World.
Thank you, Efnan.